everyone, and welcome back to the Real Positive Girl podcast. My name is Sabrina. Happy Wednesday to you all, my friends. I'm surprised that it's already Wednesday. I don't know if anyone else is with me on that, but happy Wednesday. Just a reminder that this week we are talking about own who you are. And today, Wednesday, we're going to talk about specifically own your desires. But before we jump into that, again, happy Wednesday. If you are having a tough day, struggling a bit, feel like things are dragging you down, I always want to suggest to do the 5-minute reset, which is to take at least 5 minutes to be by yourself. That allows you to reset, reboot, restart your day. Right then and there, you're kind of drawing a line in the sand and just establishing that you are going to move forward from that start time, that start event that you create, and just treat it like a fresh day. Treat it like just brand new, and don't continue to let whatever was dragging you down to continue to drag you down. So you're just going to move on from it. It allows you to take a break from any issues or burdens that are causing you issues, or problems, issues causing you issues. And then you can also take some time to come up with a resolution for any problems or troubles that you are dealing with on your own or with someone else. I always encourage everyone to come up with a list of at least 4 things that you are grateful for, big, small, or medium size. You know, maybe you're grateful that you found some healthy recipes that you actually like. If you were on that whole healthy feeling diet food change kind of situation, calorie restriction life, because you want to get a little healthier, that's cool. Maybe you are grateful that, I don't know, some new movie popped up on Netflix or Hulu or what have you. I do know that Hook is coming to Netflix on January 15th, so if you're interested in that, it's something that our family's going to watch because we're trying to watch a bunch of Disney movies. That's like our goal this month. Maybe you are grateful that, you know, it's raining where you are. You know, the weather is turning a little bit, maybe really sinking into winter as we begin to transition into spring in about 2 months. I don't know. I'm kind of grasping at straws for things to be grateful for today. For me, today, I'm grateful that I got a new water bottle in the mail. I bought a 1/2-gallon water bottle with a strap so that I can carry it around and actually get in my gallon of water every single day. Also, I think it might be helpful when we go on vacation and being able to take a bunch of water with us. So that's what I'm grateful for. But you can literally be grateful for anything and everything. The list is endless. Last but not least, before you end your 5-minute reset, make sure that you're feeling at least neutral, if not positive, about the rest of your day, because hopefully coming up with positive things to reflect on will change your mood and your mindset and your perspective a little bit and shift it. And just realize that by spending more time celebrating and reflecting on positive things, it'll help you get through those negative experiences. But I do hope that on this Wednesday, you are having a fantastic day. Just like I said at the top of the show, this week we were talking about own who you are, and today, Wednesday, we're going to talk about own your desires. So let's go ahead and just jump right in. Today, let's talk about owning our desires, because I know some of us struggle with doing this due to fear of rejection, judgment, and failure. Our own personal desires can be the top things that bring us so much joy, happiness, and fulfillment, but generally only if we follow through with acting on these desires. But I know many people struggle with the follow through because of what someone else might think, or not being able to have the expected experience or outcome you had planned. Because you know how a lot of us will have those dreams and desires and things in our hearts, but we just don't see how it will be able to walk out the way that we had imagined or play out the way that we would wish. And maybe we feel like we're not worthy enough, we're not capable enough, we don't have enough money or time or assistance or whatever, you know, I hate to say this if I'm hurting someone's feelings, but excuse. It's just another excuse, because you can make time and you can, you know, come up with resources or find a way to jimmy rig it and figure out the best way for you to go about going after your dreams and desires. You know, maybe you won't be able to do what you want full pop from the beginning, but you can slowly ramp your way up. Where there's a will, there's a way. I believe that. Even for myself, I'm kind of preaching to myself right now, because a lot of times I will come up with the biggest excuses. I will solve those excuses, and then I'm still sitting here like, well, you know, just not doing it. And that's just so, it's not good. It's not good. But yeah, so first, let's talk about how important it is to acknowledge the desires of our hearts. It is very important. You acknowledge it and then you own it. We should look forward to exploring more of what gives us that spark, as it promotes more self-awareness and inner work I like to encourage here. So, I talk about self-awareness probably almost every episode. I'm sure people are sick and tired of hearing about it. I will never relent on that, though, just so you know, because it's so important. Honestly, most of the things I talk about here are going to involve self-awareness, because the better that you know yourself, the better that you are able to manage the struggles that you go through day to day and continue to work on becoming your best self. If I'm wrong, send me a DM on Instagram. Check the description box below. Let me know. But self-awareness is so super important, and it'll help you to not have so many emotional, mental struggles in your life. But it is important for us to realize that you do need to acknowledge the desires of your heart. You have to. You can't just pretend like they're not there, try to push them away. As we spoke about yesterday, trying to push them under a rug. You can't just pretend and be like, no, that's not there, because you feel like you can't follow through with whatever it is, or someone else is going to judge you for wanting that thing. And I'm telling you from personal experience, for the longest time, I never told anyone that I wanted to be a motivational speaker like Tony Robbins, because it just sounds crazy, right? It's like you don't hear people walking around every day being like, yeah, I want to be a motivational speaker. At least I don't. And I was so scared to tell anyone. And now I'll tell everyone. I'm like, yeah, I want to be a motivational speaker. And they're like, how are you going to do that? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out right now. I am on the path to it, though. And then how people are like, oh, well, you can't do that. And I'm like, there are people making thousands of dollars every single day by just posting links to what they like on Amazon and giving reviews, and people buying it because they're clicking through the link. I'm like, if people can do that, if people can make a living on Instagram just sharing their life and sharing the things that they like to purchase and enjoy and use, I certainly can figure out a way to have my career be super fulfilling by helping people, but also be a motivational speaker. You have to think of it that way. You have to think of it. I understand that me having this desire, probably, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, would have been a lot more difficult. People would have been like, I don't know what you're talking about. But it also, I feel like there was a surge of of those type of people going after that, but in a different way. You had to write a book, and then you had to do this, that, and the other. But I feel like I'm going about it in another way by starting my podcast, doing videos on YouTube, trying to engage with people on Instagram, trying to do it my own way. And that's what I encourage you to do, because I understand that you may want to just push it away because you think that no one will accept what it is, or you're having trouble accepting that that's your desire and you don't understand why, but you need to fully embrace it. And that's how you will understand it more and acknowledge it and understand it is real and breathing in your hearts and your minds. I am so fired up, you guys. But yeah, honestly, I believe that when we don't acknowledge those desires, we are stifling our gifts, talents, and true hearts. And I know this sounds a bit fluffy and airy. I understand you're like, oh, no, Sabrina, no, no. But this is sound knowledge I'm giving you, I promise you. But you really are denying yourself an important part of who you are by suppressing anything that sparks something positive in you. And like I said, even if you do not understand why it would spark something positive in you, because it just seems like something weird. For the longest time, I was always like, why? Why do I have this desire in my heart to be a motivational speaker? Why don't I just go back to school and get my degree, my master's, get my doctorate, go and be a psychologist like I planned for the majority of my childhood. Literally, I think I was age 10 or 12 when I decided that I was going to be a child family psychologist. That's what I went to college for. Things didn't work out for so many different reasons. And yeah, there was a time where I was struggling, where I was like, should I just go back to school and do it the more traditional way? But, it kept burning inside of me. And if you have a desire in you that is continually burning, you don't understand why, but it still just catches you. You find yourself gravitating to things that relate to it. Ask yourself why you are continuing to shy away from it. Are you denying yourself of possible gifts and talents? And why in the world wouldn't you want to embrace this if it does spark positivity, happiness, joy inside of you, despite the fact of whether you understand what's happening completely right now or not? Because if you embrace it and learn more about it, you can figure out more about it. So, you got to take the time to do that. I do not believe this is fluffy and airy. You're stifling the amazing blessings of gifts and talents and desires that God has given you. And I think you need to embrace that. I need you to take it full on bear hug situation, embrace it and acknowledge it and understand that it's a beautiful part of you. Okay, so we all know that I love to promote authenticity, right? I like to be authentic. I actually was just talking to my therapist earlier today, and I was telling him how from the beginning of this podcast, I've been very open and honest, authentic, transparent about who I am, what I've been through, how I am not a licensed expert or anything like that, and how I encourage you to go seek out your own information or talk to a professional, because I talk to a professional. And I always felt like that was the best thing to do, because I never wanted to be one of those situations where it's like the Wizard of Oz, the man behind the curtain, and to pull back that curtain on me and not get what you thought you were getting. I want you to be able to rip that curtain off and see the exact person that you expected to see based upon what I've shared with you and what I'm telling you. And that is being your true authentic self. So that's why I like to promote it here. And I encourage you to do that too. I encourage you to be authentic and transparent as much as you can in your everyday life. I would focus more on authenticity if you can't necessarily focus on transparency. If there are some things that you're still dealing with and you are struggling with shame, and that's a tough one. I went through that for quite some time. But focus in on authenticity. Ask yourself if you are being true to who you truly feel you are. Understand that there's always going to be backlash. There's always going to be people that won't support you. That's just how life is, unfortunately. But I ask you to ask yourself, are you being as authentic as you possibly can? Are you being who you truly are? And I feel like that also is one of the best ways for you to start acknowledging the desires in your heart. I brought it back around, you guys. So we all know that I love to promote authenticity, which is why I want to make sure you're aware that by not owning your desires and letting those grow, you aren't practicing authenticity and being your true self. Okay? Understand that, please. Being authentic is fun. You don't have to pretend to be anyone else. Just flow free. That's the thing I love about it. I wore a mask for years on years and years. Started in my childhood. I had to. At least I thought I did. You know what I mean? Also, I apologize if you hear really loud noises in the background. My family is watching Men in Black downstairs, and they're watching it with the surround sound, and I would just be a Debbie Downer if I was turn it down while I'm recording. So I do apologize for that. Maybe we'll add a cinematic kind of feel to this podcast. Anyway, we're getting through it. We're moving and grooving. So I encourage you. I promote authenticity, and I hope that you will try that. One of the most important things I want to note is that our desires really are a piece of who we are as people. And if we don't own those, it becomes harder to understand you, who you are, and what you're about. It really does. Because if you continue to start shoving those things in the closet or under the rug or under the bed or wherever you want to hide them, the deepest, darkest parts of who you are, you might lose them and you might forget. I doubt it, because usually when the desire is burning so hot, it will continue to come forth until you acknowledge it, until you're okay, hi, yes, okay, let's do something about this. But if you continue to push it away, you will lose a part of who you are, and it will become harder to understand who you truly are, what you're about, and there'll be holes left in your story, in your journey, and no one wants that. I'm telling you, you don't want that. You want to embrace everything that is out there for you. That is how you become your best self. We all have our own specific and purposeful desires, which will help us know ourselves better and continue to grow into the unique individual we were meant to be. I truly believe that. So we have to engage, acknowledge, and accept and own those things for us to truly work within them and with that power that's been given to us and that talent and those gifts and those desires. So we have to. If you're having trouble figuring out how to own your desire, ask yourself, if there were no roadblocks in your life, nothing in your way, what would you do? How would you follow through if everything could be perfect? Which obviously perfect is not a realistic thing, but you know what I mean. What would you do if nothing was in your way? And that is how you will be able to determine what those desires are, because then you're taking away anything that you have pushed in front of it to create an excuse and not do it and not follow through, not engage at all. When you're trying to lock those things up, like Bella in the Beast's castle, you need to ask yourself those questions because it'll help you to really understand what those desires are. If you're unsure, if you're maybe like, is this just like a thought that's like here and will be gone tomorrow? But honestly, if that thought and desire has been in your heart for longer than a couple days, couple weeks, like it's there to stay. That's how I think. So take the time to get to know that deep part of you and let it be free to grow and teach you things about yourself. It will teach you things about yourself that you didn't even realize. By doing so, you will cultivate greater happiness, freedom, and emotional stability, as you won't be fighting yourself on what you want. You'll know if you engage, acknowledge, and own that desire. And if your issue is that you are super concerned with what others may think or how they will judge you, then come back tomorrow as I discuss owning your own decisions, and then on Friday, owning your own opinions. But just know, as I close, just know that what someone else says is only their opinion and not an actual roadblock, not an actual fact, nothing that's actually real and concrete. You can do what you want. And this is what I would suggest for you to do. I want you to take this one last sentence and piece of advice that I want to give you. If you do struggle with dealing with other people's opinions and judgments, as I have and still do, look to someone you admire, whether it's on the internet, in real life, whatever, and see how they do as they choose. How do they just go and do what they want? And use that as inspiration. Because, I can sit here and talk you to death about how you need to understand that it's only their opinion. It's just words, not truth, But I feel like a lot of fear and instability and uncertainty can be wrapped up in what other people say about us and how they view us. But then, I could talk your ear off about that and you're just like, no, it's too hard. But then I feel like it's easier to see it in action. So if you see someone that you admire and you're like, oh my gosh, they're doing what they want. They might have some reservations, right? We're not all perfect, but they're going after it. They're pushing forth. They're not having a whole bunch of shame surrounded by doing the thing that they want to do and owning and acknowledging those desires. Wow. Okay. They're doing it. This other person's doing it. Let me try to do it. I just think that it's so encouraging to see someone else do the thing that you want to do and realize it can be done. And then it kind of pushes you and motivates you a little bit more to do it. So, okay, you guys, well, that's all I have to say today in regards to owning your desires and owning who you are. Thank you so much for listening to the Real Positive Girl podcast. Again, my name is Sabrina. You guys are truly the best. Thank you so much for listening, downloading, sharing the show. You're amazing. Like I said, tomorrow we're talking about owning your desires. And then on Friday, to wrap it all up, we are talking about owning your opinions. But check the description box for notes for the show, where to find me on Instagram. Personal, I'm there every day. Show page, I'm trying to be there every day. Or you can send me an email with any questions, comments, concerns, prayer requests, feedback, topic suggestions, or just to say, hey, hi, hello to me. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you all. You're absolutely fantastic and amazing. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.